good morning. It's good to be here once again. The show is Perspectives. You know that on this show, if it happened, it's happening, or it's being talked about. The gist is right here. Yes, I was on the show last week after a very, very long break. Good to be back on the show. You know that here on the show, what we do is to just bring the news to you in a very relaxed atmosphere. And when I say in a very relaxed atmosphere, you know what I mean. We break all the big grammar in the news so that the layman out there can understand what is going on in the polity. So much ado about PDP leadership crisis. So many grammar, so many big story. Today on the show, we will be breaking it down to the understanding of everyone out there. Unfortunately, Habib, who can't be here, is not here in the studio this morning, but definitely you will see his face next week. And also, I would like to apologize for some reasons beyond our control. You might not be able to be a part of the program live at this moment, but what you can do is to connect with me on social media at Yinka Kenny 1 on Instagram and at Yinka Kenny on Facebook. Also at Watch Perspectives on Facebook. We can always continue the discussion right there. And also you can drop your messages on 0810-851-6644. 0810-851-6644. Yes, when we come your way next week, we'll read out your comments. You know that your comments, your perspectives is very dear to us. Today, we're starting with politics and political matters. And what are we talking about this morning? PDP with all their leadership crisis. But you know what, today, we're not going to be dwelling on PDP crisis. You see, all these lawyers, they are speaking big grammar, big grammar, and they are beginning to disturb the head of people like me and you, that we are not, what do they call themselves? Learned partner or learned friend. Well, me, I'm in black today, so I have decided to be learned this morning. To do justice to this topic with me in the studio, I have a barrister, and is also a social commentator, and is a public affairs analyst, in the person of Barrister Jide Ologun. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
I'm so much delighted to be here this morning. You see, I'm trying to be learned because I want to be learned this morning, you know.
The relation of the learned is learned.
Okay, that's it. You see, the relation of the learned is learned. So automatically it will rub on each other. Well, good to be here. We know that some days ago, the chairman of PDP Board of Trustees, he is in the person of Senator Walid Jibrin, he announced that the Deputy Chairman South, in the person of Yemi Akinwumi, will continue to be the acting national chairman, you know, and will also be the one to chair the forthcoming conference. And they still maintain that date of their conference, which happened to be October 30th and 31st. October 30th happened to be my birthday. PDP. Okay, well, that's their national convention. That's the day their national convention is going to hold in Abuja, according to them. Well, let's hope that with all this back and forth, it's still going to hold. Now, where are we going to this morning? The points we are going to, we all know that our Honorable Prince Secondus is gone. We have several court cases rather. Now, the confusing part where we're really dealing with this morning is we have a court sitting in River State. We have a court sitting in Cross River State. Those courts, respectively, they have suspended the PDP party's national chairman, that is Prince Uche Secondus, you know, from you know, performing all his duties as the chairman and all whatnot. Now, another court in Kebbi State, and that, you know, what baffles me most is that I want to believe, I stand to be corrected, I'm not a lawyer, that this, all this court, they are of the same jurisdiction. Now, another court in Kebbi State also reinstated, I don't know if to say the chairman now or the former chairman or whatever, the suspended chairman. And you see, the irony of all this is that these incidences happened within the space of 3 days. And all the grammar that we've been hearing from bar, left, right, and center, you know, the NBA, that's the National Bar Association of Nigeria, they have raised their concerns about cases of contradictory court orders in the country. Also, we have and they are also eating on the senior lawyers, saying that the senior lawyers are at fault. We're still coming to all that, but I need to give our viewers a real picture of what is going on. They are saying that the senior lawyers, as the senior advocates of Nigeria, you know, mostly are the people that they have allowed the politicians in this country to, you know, abuse judicial processes. That is according, not me, according to the NBA. Now, also, where we are coming to now, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, he also has summoned all the Chief Justice, you people, from Kebbi to Rivers to Cross River to Anambra to Jigawa, 6 of them. You people just be coming to Abuja. Just carry yourself to Abuja. Come and explain to me what really is going on. Why would a court give a ruling and another court on the same matter, as you people will say, is giving a contradicting ruling also? What is happening? That is the CJ's intervention. Now, there's one big grammar in all of this. All I hear is ex parte order. Let's start from there. Okay. What really is this ex parte order, sir?
You know, ex parte order is an order that the judge gives by discretion without the other party being in court, to simplify it. So
in absentia.
In ex parte.
Ooh.
So one party, naturally, you should put the other party on notice that there is a motion and the person can come, or the organization or whoever is on the other side, to say, to respond to it, whether to oppose it or not to oppose it. But you come by way of ex parte application when there is an imminent harm or an emergency that may not wait. And usually it's an interim order. That means it's not permanent. It can be vacated. Quite often it's just to sustain the status quo and to prevent further damage to the matter that is substantially before the court. So ex parte order simply means an order that is given without the other party having the opportunity
to defend him or herself.
Exactly.
Also, if I, sorry to cut you now, because I want our viewers, I'm talking to people that are not really learned, illiterate. We are illiterate in legal matters.
They are not illiterate.
in legal matters.
Anyone watching us now is literate.
Okay, because it's learning. Okay, so you see now, so we're talking about secondus. That ruling was given while it wasn't there, and it is not supposed to last long. It's supposed to be for a period of time. Is that what you're saying?
You know, I spoke generally,
okay,
but let's bring it down to the case of secondus.
Okay.
You know, in the judicial circle, judges are very powerful.
Yes.
We refer to them as my lord.
Mm-hmm.
That means any order given, any ruling, any judgment, mm-hmm, if you are not satisfied with it, at the trial court, you appeal to the Court of Appeal.
Okay.
And that is the area of concern now, that all these high courts are courts of coordinate jurisdiction. They are at the same level. So it should be expected in the environment of orderliness that the judge in Kebbi or the judge in Cross River would have asked the party that came to court seeking an ex parte order that, are you not aware that the same issues you have brought before my court came up in this court and this is what happened. All right, but somehow that did not happen, and that is why we have this crisis that we have within the judicial circuit. That is why the Chief Justice of Nigeria is interested in come and explain why you gave that order. Because we may want to blame the senior advocates of Nigeria, but the bench supersedes the bar in this process. The bar is bringing a case to the bench. I'm talking of the lawyers now coming before a judge. And the judge has a discretion to look at it. Now, my friend, what emergency is in this? If he's been asked to step aside, you can pursue this matter substantively. After all, the convention or whatever they want to hold is still in October, or it should have been December. There is still time that I'm not going to grant this order. Put the other party on notice. The two of you should appear before me. At best, you give a short date. And that is where the suspicion of manipulation will come in. And that is where it appears as if we are on a purchase spree to purchase these court orders. And even God says, let all things be done decently and in order. And right now, they are going to face the Chief Justice of Nigeria, who was the chairman of the National Judicial Council. And after explaining what happened at that level, they will have to face the larger National Judicial Council to see whether they can be sanctioned or not. But I think the challenge we have really is that we have not been, engaging some of these practices with relevant sanctions, because it is an embarrassment to the judiciary. All right.
So now let me ask you this. Now the court in Rivers. Okay, let's take the court in Kebbi, because it was the court in Kebbi that reinstated him. The court in Kebbi, could he not, claim ignorance? Isn't it possible? Because we don't expect him to be everywhere and know everything. I'm talking like a layman now.
When we lawyers talk about the law, when the government talks about the law, when you talk about constitution and laws, you say ignorance is not an excuse. So if we relate at that level with the generality of the people, how much more the learned circle that should be really in touch, because the least effort you need now is to check on your phone what is the breaking news in Nigeria.
Exactly.
So the judge is expected to have heard that there was an order given in Rivers State directly or through his aides and those who support him in that job. So claiming that he or she did not know may not be relevant in this circumstance. And of course, how many states do we have in Nigeria? If that is, we are talking of public figures, which is Secondus, chairman of PDP. It's not a hidden news. These are news that hit the headlines. So that may not be an excuse. And that is why it appears as if the judiciary is becoming a political arm of government, and it should not be. The judiciary should be a revered referee holding the whistle to officiate over the match between the people, between the other arms of government, to ensure that there is justice. And in the Nigerian law school, we were taught that justice should not only be done, but clearly seen to have been done. And we should operate in a way that will strengthen the system that we have. I mean, the PDP has the internal crisis management mechanism. In fact, right now, as we discuss this in the studio, the stakeholders have met, presided over by the former Senate President, David Mark. And Uche Secondus has offered that he is willing to withdraw his own case from court, let others also do the same, so that they can resolve these issues amicably. But then there is another hurdle he needs to cross now. In his own word and local government, he has been suspended from the party. And so it's a huge challenge, and it only comes to reflect the shake-ups we are beginning to have in parties. And it's quite interesting that PDP, that should have grown to become a very dominant opposition, is also engulfed in crisis. And don't forget, this crisis started when some prominent leaders in the party just decided to resign for allegation of lack of transparency and, of course, an ineffective leadership and lack of inclusion So, but these are issues that we say in public relations can be proactively managed, because it's not all issues that should graduate into crisis. But what we appear to have now is what we call reactive crisis management in public relations, and it can be more expensive.
Okay,
than
let me just hold your thought. Let me hold your thought a bit there, because I really don't want us to really go into the PDP crisis. I really want to, because usually we know that the court is supposed to be the hope for the layman, you know, the last resort for the layman. And if we cannot have trust in our courts, then what is the fate of the common man in Nigeria today? We'll go on a short break. Barrister Jide Ologun is still in the studio with me. Please don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Yes, the show is still Perspectives, and we are talking about different court orders given at the same time within 3 days. 3 different courts have given 3 different rulings, all on this ex parte order. And you know, before we went on the break, the barrister has been able to explain to us the meaning of the ex parte order and why it has come to be in place. Now, I go back to you. We're still talking about this ex parte order, barrister. This ex parte order, don't you think that it could be, at times, tilting onto one side? Because if the law can permit a judgment given to me in my absence, is it fair enough?
It's not about being fair. It's one of the tools in driving the process of justice, because it has its positive side. If, for example, you have a matter in court and someone is trying to pull down your building, you don't wait till the case runs through. You quickly approach the court, persuade the court with your affidavit that if this happens, I'm a dead man, that you must arrest this situation. And the court, on the strength of your argument, can grant that ex parte order that is interim to draw the attention of the other party that you don't touch that building.
Pending
come to
time.
court. Yes. Come to court. Let's run through this case. Then if eventually you have the right to pull it down, you go ahead and pull it down. Because if that party is allowed to pull it down, what about if he loses at the end of the day? Investment's gone. So ex parte order has its place in law. But just like everything that can be used as subject to abuse, and that is what we are having now. So when that tool, that potent tool, now becomes a weapon in the hands of politicians in the present circumstances we are discussing, it becomes worrisome. But it's not just within the circles of politicians. The Chief Justice of Nigeria, and I say this with all due respect, may have benefited from ex parte order. Recall that when Onohe was to be removed from office,
exactly, I remember
the Code
that
of
case.
Conduct Tribunal gave an ex parte order suspending him. Even though under the Constitution, suspension is not one of the avenues of removing a Chief Justice from office. The Senate is grossly, empowered to handle that aspect. But the presidency proceeded through suspension. That it was not going to be permanent. Today is permanent. You see? So he was led out of office as CJN by an ex parte order. And not just the interest of the players in the system. So are we talking about national interest now? If that is the case, I doubt if we need to come to this level. I mean,
okay, let me just hold you a bit there. Now, this is coming to the fore because this is a matter that concerns the big wigs, so to speak, in the country. There are 1,001 people that have been a victim of things like this. Probably the man down there, took a case to court and the big man feels that I do not like this judgment, yes, I'm going to another court of the same jurisdiction to, you know, and there's an order, but because the man down there probably does not have the finance or probably does not, you know, have the wherewithal, does not know the people and all that, he now becomes a victim of the second order. You know, things like this happens. In such a case, what can the layman do, the ordinary man do? Now, what happens to this other judge that is given a contrary, you know, ruling to a case that had already been settled in a similar court?
The National Judicial Council has disciplinary prerogative, all right, and they are to put the judges in shape. So they exist to attend to that. But whether that will be effectively carried out is a different ballgame. But you said at a point that the court or judiciary is the hope, the last hope of the common man. I doubt if that is the case in Nigeria, because the litigation is quite expensive. So if you even have the money to run through in the trial court, you now go to the appellate court, and when you get to the Supreme Court, you have to pay supreme fees to argue, you know, to scale through there. So the common man may not look at the judiciary as a hope, a point of hope. It should be ideally, but currently it's not. So you find the big wigs being the key players there. And like I said, what PDP is doing now is to look at the options that, okay, if we continue on the path of litigations, where do we end? Okay, can we, and in HR, we talk about collective bargaining, and that is beginning to happen. Now let's sit, you know, before the table. What are the issues? And in conflict resolution, there are steps that are sensible for you to take. You need to identify the source of the conflict. You need to go beyond the source of that conflict. Look at the terms that are acceptable to the parties. Bring them to an agreeable position and get them to buy into the resolutions so that you can have sustainable peace to get back on the track of your vision. If not, all parties may lose out. Don't forget that before this present crisis rocking PDP, some governors defected from the party to another party, and they will just look back now and justify their move. All right, and some are still waiting to jump boat. So it depends on what exactly you want to achieve. But I have said it, the saving grace will be when we begin to have groups that are mainly interested, because you cannot rule out your ambition in politics, your party interest, that are predominantly interested in the development of the nation. And that is what we make them to even get the people buy into their projects and garner the strong support needed for victory.
Thank you very much, Barrister. Yes, time is not a friend of ours on the show, like you all know. I will be wrapping up in a bit now, but before I wrap up, just in about 5 seconds now, I wanted to talk to the ordinary Nigerian out there. What is the hope? Since it seems our courts are failing or they are failed, whichever way, what is the hope? If I have a dispute, what would you advise me? I don't have the money, I don't have the wherewithal. What is the advice that you will give to me in 5 seconds, sir?
Okay, speaking about Lagos State, I must commend the state of excellence. When you have some issues that bother you and require judicial interventions, please go to the Ministry of Justice, Lagos State. Okay. The Lagos State government has the civil mediation centers, and of course, from that point, they can assist you, and I doubt if they will require you to pay some money. Wow. If not, ask God to give you good money to pay lawyers.
All right, a very good way to call it a wrap this morning. But before I leave the show, I would like to tell you that our Honorable Minister of Finance, Budget and Planning, Mrs. Zainab Ahmed, she has come out to say that we will continue to borrow money. This money we are borrowing responsibly. That's Nigeria. We'll keep on borrowing money because we have to continue to invest on infrastructures like power, roads, water, and rail. So we have just started. We don't know where we are going. Thank you very much, Barrister. Good to have you on the show this morning.
Thank you. God bless Nigeria.
All right, that's where I call it a wrap on the show. Remember to connect with me on social media, on Facebook at Yinka Kenny, on Instagram at Yinka Kenny1. Till I come your way, same time, same station next week. Remember to drop your comments on my number 0810-851-6644. Stay well, stay blessed, and keep safe. Bye for now.